breathe in a little too heavily than I would prefer, I may go to power for a month or so, just to kind of build that back up, just to kind of rotate through and make sure I'm hitting all the aspects of fitness that I need for my sport.
Yeah.
So, you know, or say I'm recovering from an injury. This is another great example. Like, say I do tear a muscle or something. Maybe I step it back to fitness and I scale fitness, but I'm still able to be included and feel like, you know, I can still be an athlete and work out, but just at a lower level at the time, you know, or at a more, you know, fitness, they'll have lighter percentages to work off of and just more higher reps.
Right.
So you're able to rehab a little bit better on some of the other programs. So I feel like you have options, which is great. And it keeps you motivated and it keeps you interested.
Yeah.
So
you don't feel constrained that way.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people, and, you know, I've gone back and forth on should we provide more than one program or not. And I think when people only have one program provided, they feel that. They feel that, like, I'm just tied down by this one program and, like, there's no variety. You know what I mean? Whereas they're like, oh, even if they don't want to switch, just knowing that they could is like, I don't know why. It's a subconscious, like, you know, freedom of I can go with whatever path I want and I'm happy on this one for right now.
Yeah. I think that the dreaded word, I'm bored. You know, I'm bored. I mean, you hear that a lot. And I think being bored is one of the top reasons people leave a gym.
It's one of the worst things that can happen.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never been bored.
I think any athlete who pushes his limits gets bored or burnout.
Yeah.
Or the same thing.
Bored, burnout, whatever, however you want to phrase it. Yeah. I mean, I think that happens. And being able to have options to change it up or challenge yourself. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, sometimes I look at the sport workouts and think, yeah, that one's going to hurt. you know, like, glad I don't have to do that today. So, but if I needed that, you know, that gut feeling, like that butterflies in my stomach, like this is really going to be painful kind of day, I could totally do sport for the day. You know, I'd probably regret it and be right back to iron up the next day because it's just so tough for me. But I enjoy having those options, and I feel like that's why I've been with Militia Fitness for so long. It's kept me consistent in the program. And the awesome thing, too, is that just because I do switch to sport for a month or so or however long I choose, even if it's just a day just to get my mind right, it's all the same type of work. They're all related. You know, we're doing leg day on leg day. We're doing upper day on upper day. Nobody's doing anything crazy. You can kind of flow between and still be with everybody else.
Right.
So it's been really nice.
Kind of since we're talking about the programming, and kind of the business, let's stay on that right now. And for those that don't know, so Militia Fitness is mostly in Florida. So Nikita is doing this like via online on her own. Now, Militia Fitness, from what Nikita told me, is very successful. You said they have 4 locations, 3 in Florida, all within like a 30-mile radius. So they have like total dominance in their area, and then another one up in North Carolina. So their model is successful. Now, and Nikita, if you can elaborate, so they started as a CrossFit facility. And were you there when it was a CrossFit facility?
I was, okay. Yes.
And do you remember like what was going through their minds? I don't know how in you were with the people leading it, but do you remember what led them to decide to rebrand and then offer all these additional programs, you know, instead of just the CrossFit? Because I'm assuming these programs weren't available when they were a CrossFit gym.
No, they weren't. There was, I think there was, they called it front and backboard. And I think it was more...
Front and backboard?
Yeah, I think I remember. It was right when I started, front and backboard program. And it was kind of your beginner program was front board, and then your competitive athletes were on the backboard. And so it was just, I think they named it that because the actual physical board was
on
the back.
The back.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember. This is right when I joined. And so I joined, and it was CrossFit Fort Walton Beach. And they did have one other location in Crestview at the time. I did not train there. I actually ended up training there when it rebranded to Militia Fitness. I moved to Crestview, so outside, and that's where I trained with Kimmy, and kind of the growth of my strongman career, I guess you could say, developed in that gym. But so it was a CrossFit gym, and I remember he just Jordan, he made a announcement saying that he was going to have a meeting and that everybody who could come, he would appreciate it if they would. And they now call it HQ, headquarters.
Okay.
So down at HQ, and that's the one in Fort Walton Beach. It's the largest of their locations. And
were you a coach at the time? Sorry, were you a coach at the time?
No, I've never been a coach at Militia.
Oh, you never were? Okay,
nope,
I wasn't
I've
sure.
just always been an athlete.
Okay.
So anybody who could come, they came to the meeting, and he made the announcement that they were rebranding, and their name would now be Militia Fitness. And some of the reasons were what I've already explained to you. They wanted to provide training for your goals.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to compete in a figure competition, you didn't feel like you couldn't because it was just a CrossFit gym.
Right.
So, or say a powerlifter moved to the area.
Yeah.
They couldn't train at Militia Fitness because it was a CrossFit gym. So
they basically just didn't want to give people any reasons to not
go
there.
Absolutely,
like they wanted to just eliminate all the excuses.
Yeah, they wanted to reach and help and just inspire as many people as they possibly can in fitness. And the way that they did that was rebranding and opening up the programs to what they have now. And I think they've done an excellent job at that.
It sounds like they have. I mean, especially if you're sticking with them, even remotely, that's a good sign that they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So if I walk into Militia Fitness right now in Florida, or while you were still there anyway, do you remember, like, would I pay, like, the same price for all their different options, or is there, like, different price points?
Nope,
and
there's a one base price.
One base price?
Yep. You pay one price, you get all the programs, you get all the seminars, you pretty much get anything that they put on is included in your membership.
And this was Florida, so it's usually different price points than here. But what was the price point there for monthly?
I think it ran, I can't remember exactly, but between 100 and 150.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And so if I walk into their facility and I want to train there, let's say I want to do their fitness program, which is their like standard GPP CrossFit program. Is there like one coach leading this and the other three classes, or are they like segregated in the space?
No.
Like how does that all go down?
No, they do a really awesome job of not making anybody feel like an outcast.
Okay.
So no matter what program you follow, everyone's warming up together, everyone's doing skill review together, and then you're branching off into your groups with other, because like I said, the programs are very similar that day. So, Iron Up may be doing back squats, but Sport might be doing front squats to help translate more to the cleans.
Okay.
So everybody will be doing squats. So you can still work with somebody who's doing sport.
Okay, so they're one big group still.
Oh, yeah.
So I go in there,
one big group.
There's 20 people, the coach is telling them what we're doing today, and 5 of us are going to the front squats for sport, the other 5 are doing back squats, and the coaches. And is it usually just one coach leading, or is it usually one, or like, is there usually multiple? Because how big were the classes usually?
They're pretty big.
Yeah,
especially down at HQ. I could say, they may have anywhere from 5 up to closer to 20 to 30 at a time.
Big class.
They could be big classes. Just depends on
the time.
All the times, yeah. So there is, I think, at least 2 coaches all the time.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for 20. Oof.
Right. Yeah. And Jordan and Jesse, they kind of float around. So Jordan, he's the owner, and he actually writes all the programs as well.
All 4 of them.
Yeah. And actually what I love about it, and this is probably why I trust my program so much, is that Jordan writes the programs. He also uses them. Yeah. So he tests them and basically doesn't change them unless he finds any kind of fault, things that he needs to change when he's testing it. But yeah, so he'll do a week ahead and he'll run through Iron Up, and he does it to train himself as an MMA fighter. Yep. So he competes in that sport, and I think it's awesome. Does he really? He's an MMA competitor? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think, is what specifically he competes in. But yeah, he's competed in strongman. He's competed in strongman, weightlifting, and powerlifting. So he's had good exposure to a lot. Yeah, he tries to always compete in all the sports just to kind of know what his athletes are going to go through. That's important. Yeah, so how to prep for him. He's done a weight cut. So I do weight cut for my sport, and he's been through at least 2 that I know of for strongman, for a strength-based sport, which I think is important because you can cut weight for a bodybuilding competition a lot differently than you can cut for a strength-based sport. Yeah. There's different methods to do that. So, yeah, I love that he tests everything on himself. I think that's super key. There's some coaches out there that
don't follow their own programs, and there's certain reasons why. I'm not saying it's always wrong, but it is a big advantage to either do it ahead of time or at least do it alongside those people, so you can reflect on it and be like, that was way too much, or that wasn't very challenging at all. Right. I should have done A, B, and C, because you have to know what it feels like. Yeah. You can't just be behind a desk just typing in numbers.
Exactly.
And people don't want to follow, because then they're like, well, why is he not doing this?
Exactly.
Program?
It builds trust.
It builds trust, because they're like, oh, that guy just suffered just as much as we did. I guess we'll do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I come in, I do, I move over to the power side, and I do that program. Does usually one program like last longer than another, or do we all like debrief at the end? We come back together at the end of a group led class. So like,
no, I would say all the programs are pretty much the same length. So they're programmed to be completed within about an hour.
Okay, so does usually everybody kind of congregate back together at the end, or does like each kind of group, like you got 5 here, and those guys kind of just like, all right, we're calling it, and we leave?
I would say definitely at HQ, because of the facility is so large, they kind of trickle out. So a lot of the Iron Up and Power programs, they'll have at the end a mobility workout, or like, so you need to hit this mobility for today, lacrosse ball on this muscle, blah, blah, blah. Or they'll have lagging muscle. So if that, I feel like that's plugged in for your competitors who are training for a powerlifting meet, where they know that their mid or low back's weak. So I may hit some low back accessories, or I'm trying to build up my bench. Let me hit some lat work here. So you can kind of customize it for those higher level athletes. So towards the end of the workout, I would say people kind of trickle in and trickle out on their own, but the next class is warming up. And so it's a constant flow of people in and out, and, but they all start at the same time, and then they'll finish whenever they kind of want.
Are they, do they do like a 24/7 model, or is it just like 5 a.m., 6 a.m.?
Class times.
So
they
it's
do
just
have class times. Yeah. So you don't really ever have people staying past an hour after the last class time.
I got you.
So if you're going to come in and you need 2.5 hours for your accessories, which I don't really recommend.
No.
Then you may want to come into the earlier class.
I gotcha.
But don't trickle in at the 7:00 class and expect to have a 2.5 hour workout.
I gotcha.
That's probably not going to happen.
I was just curious because sometimes those bigger gyms, they'll have like open areas, and so I was just curious.
Yeah, no, they have set hours that they're open.
Okay, all right, cool. I think there's one question I had on the business, and then I want to get back to you as an athlete. On the now that you're doing it remotely, do they have like a big remote following? And regardless, do you usually pay for that service still? Do people pay to get that program?
I would say that their online following, last time I talked to Jordan about it, was pretty big. Yeah. I would say that, I don't want to say that I kickstarted it, but I kind of was an example of it can work. Okay. When I first moved away, and I was training competitively still for strongman, because I moved away probably right in the middle of the meat of my career as a strongman athlete. So I think by having that Instagram up and posting every day, that I was still following and training through the methodologies of militia fitness, and that you could still do it, and that the community is not just about physically being there, but it's more of, we can reach out and still be a part of the community by not being at that location. More followed. So the area that they're in is a very densely populated military base. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that come and go. I mean, just for career reasons. So when you start a gym and you like it and you're enjoying it, it's working for you. Yeah. Just because you have to move for your career, I mean, you don't want to have to give that up. No. So I think I was a good example of that it can work as long as you have the discipline and you're able to really just have that mindset of, this is what I'm doing, whether it's alone in a cold garage or it's at a facility. I mean, now I'm blessed to train at Valhalla Barbell Club. So I use their facility to train my program, which is still militia fitness, and I mean, it's been great. I mean, I love the heater,
Nice for those cold winters.
It's awesome not to have to wear 3 sweatshirts.
Yeah.
So the online program is just access to the workouts, and you can sign up for that. They do have a membership for that.
What's the price point on that?
I think it's like